Had an interesting meeting last week.
What happened?
So a guy that's in business is already a client,
Okay.
spent a ton of money on equipment, but doesn't really want to be in the business that he's in. So he's coming up with other business ideas
Right.
and saw one on Instagram that he thought he might like.
Okay. Saw something on Instagram. Okay.
Saw something
what
on
did he
Instagram.
see?
So mobile bartending.
Ooh. Okay. That I've heard about this.
Yeah, so have I. I just also think that people aren't aware of everything that's involved with doing it.
Well, people are involved in bartending in
Yeah.
general. I was a bartender for years. I can
Yeah.
tell you, it was it's a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of stuff that goes into it, especially if you're talking about doing it mobile.
Yeah.
Man, the planning and everything you have to do.
Not only that, and then we also have the liquor control board and everything else in this state.
Well, yeah, there's always that.
So, like, you can't operate one here without a liquor license, technically,
Right.
if you're providing the alcohol.
Yeah.
Right? So the whole point with this is he had not thought any of this through. So I get the call
He
saying,
just had an idea.
well,
I want to do this. Go ahead.
So he hadn't thought any of this through, right? So his phone call to me was, hey, we're going to need some marketing for this.
Yep.
And I go, okay. So I go to the meeting thinking they already have this business developed and are like ready for marketing, right? So we sit down with them, and my first question is, well, what are your rates?
Right.
And he starts ranting off top shelf, bottom shelf, blah, 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 whatever. And I'm like, so per person based on alcohol? And he goes, yeah. And I'm like, are you providing the alcohol? And he's like, well, technically we're not. He's like,
Okay.
We'll go buy it, but it's a separate line item on the invoice.
Okay.
And the consumer, whoever we hire, gets to keep the alcohol. And I'm like, okay.
That's like, I guess that's alcohol delivery.
Yeah. So wait, it gets better.
It gets better.
Mm-hmm. So we're talking top shelf, bottom shelf, state specific, all of that stuff, right? So because of the state we're in, I asked him, like, is all of this legal? And he's like, well, I read through all the regulations.
Oh, good.
Good. That's what I said. I was
Thank
like,
God.
good. I'm like, thank God you read all of it. And he's like, that seems to be the loophole, that I can buy the alcohol on their behalf.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so if you're spending their money on the alcohol, what's the difference between me paying you for top shelf and bottom shelf? Why am I paying more for you to pour from a $200 bottle than a $100 bottle if I bought the alcohol?
Yeah.
And he goes, that's a good point. And I'm like, this model seems to be slightly flawed, right? So I'm
I
like,
just not thought through properly. It's okay.
Correct. But I'm like, these are the calls that I get, ready for marketing.
Yeah.
No, you're still in the idea stage, right? Like,
Right.
I'm not supposed to be the business advice guy and all that stuff, right? Like, we're the marketing people.
Yeah.
Like, not saying I didn't enjoy having the conversation with him, but it was not the conversation that I expected to have based on, hey, we're ready for marketing.
Right.
No, you're not.
You're not even close.
You're not even close yet, right? Like, you're 3 months out from
at least
talking about marketing. But the interesting thing was, like, as we were talking through it, and I'm like, if you want to have price tiers, why don't you do a pour only tier
Mm-hmm.
and a mixed drink tier, right?
Okay.
Because you need two different skill sets.
Yes, right.
So if someone is just pouring like wine and beer,
One's not really a skill.
Correct. It's a service, right?
Right.
So I'm like, why don't you do those two service tiers? So you have one that's a pour only and one that's a mixed drink only. And then you can say, okay, we charge either by the number of people you have, or you can just flat hourly rate it, right? Like, if I have to bring 4 bartenders for 6 hours, right? That could be an hourly rate per bartender, and you pay more for a mixed drink bartender than you would.
I'll tell you another idea with that too is the garnishments.
Mm-hmm.
That you could buy, right? Limes, lemons, Tabasco sauce, for different drinks,
So,
and the mixers. All that stuff could be bought.
So in his other business, he has a lot of like big equipment,
Yeah.
right? Like plenty of room. So I'm like, why, instead of just being a bartender, why don't you partner with someone like an event equipment company, right? So now you can do more than just do the alcohol. Like you could bring a mobile bar, right? Like you could bring glasses. You could bring, so now you have add-on levels that you can do. Like, do you want plasticware or do you want glassware? If you want glassware, here's XYZ.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't know that there's actually like wholesale equipment rentals out there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't know that, right?
Oh.
So you can go, they would go to a party rental place and they'd quote them a number. You could go to your wholesaler and you could literally quote them the same number because they're wholesaling it to you, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, why don't you focus on that part of it where you're bringing like a complete bar setup area. So you bring the mobile bar, you bring 10 tables or high tops, so that the drinks portion of your party is completely taken care of. It's because then you have something that other mobile bartenders don't.
Yep.
Because he already has the equipment. It makes perfect sense to me, right? Like you could literally swing by and grab the stuff on your way to the party, right? But yeah, it's just interesting when people say they're ready for marketing or ready for something, right? And then you sit down and I asked them, like, what are the legalities?
Yeah.
I'm like, what happens if someone gets too drunk at an event that you've been bartending at, right? Because we have, what's that? If someone is
Dram Shop. Let's go to Dram Shop Act.
Okay.
Yeah. Where if you're serving someone who's actively drunk, and then they go and get into an accident, you could be held responsible for that. Yeah. Dram Shop.
And I'm like, so how do you get around that? And then to add on top of it, the guy is actually a registered agent of the state.
Yeah.
Right. So that adds like a double whammy to it.
All right. So let's back up.
So no, but
well, no. Yeah. What I want to do is,
I was like, you think you're ready for marketing?
Right.
I'm like, you should be talking to an attorney first.
So let's go through that. Let's go through that life cycle. Okay. Yeah. So let's forget about the marketing part of it. Let's how do we get to the marketing? Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about the life cycle.
Okay.
All right. So we're at idea phase, right? You and your friend are you're at idea phase. That's all you. Yes. And you're coming up with different ways to approach it, etc. I like some of these ideas. I've seen people where they buy these trailers and the ones you hook up to the back of your car, big ones, 30 footers, and they convert them into a bar. Yeah. Right. And then
like
they
take my buddy with the neighbors.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah. I think you may have told me about this, but now I've started seeing them. Right. I've seen them online. I've seen them in person too. They're pretty cool. So that's an idea. So anyway, you're at the idea phase. Yep. Right. So let's work this out for the people watching. Okay. So an idea is just we can do this, we can do that, but you really want to structure those ideas and come up with, okay, what exactly are we going to do? Or at least initially, what are we going to do? Yep. Once you figure that out, then it's time before you even think about marketing, before you register your business, before you do any of that stuff. Now it's time for research. Yep. And research is not reading the code of regulations. It's not. That's not going to help you. No. Unless you're a trained attorney or you've worked in the legal field before, just reading the statutes and stuff won't do you any good. No.
A lot of this is the stuff you do, why we tell people to do business plans before they start. Right? Because they force you to look at the process from idea to first dollar, right? Dollars spent, dollars in, dollars out, right? Who you need to talk to, who you need to consult with, right? So I sat down with him and I said, okay, here's the first 3 people you need to talk to. You need to talk to the attorney to see whether you're even allowed to do this or if like how you have to treat the alcohol. Do you have to send the person with a shopping list, or are you allowed to buy it on their behalf if they give you money for it, right? I'm like, that was question 1. Yeah. Question 2 is, where are you going to make your money, right? Are you going to make it off the actual hours from the service? Are you going to make it from renting out? Are you going to rent one of those horse trailers and bring it and mark that up? Are you going to mark up tables? Are you going to mark up high tops? Like, where are you going to make the bulk of your money? Right. That's the business advisor that you have. Like, basically someone that's been in business and understands margins. It doesn't have to be a business consultant or advisor, just someone that can help you understand margins. Once you have all that into place, Now you got to call the insurance guy, because you may find out that what you have planned and how you want to do it isn't insurable, right? That you cannot get a policy for it, right? Or you find out that if you are the one purchasing the alcohol, that changes how the insurance
even if you're buying
company,
it for somebody else,
correct,
right? Yeah,
that can change how the insurance company looks at it, right? Because then technically you provided the alcohol or you got it on site, right? So like once you talk to those three people after you've fully formulated the idea, now you can look at it and say, okay, this could be viable, right? Because if you have to pay $100,000 a year in insurance, your rates would have to be astronomical, right? No one's going to hire you. So yeah, it's just interesting.
So I think I would change that. The three groups of professionals you're working with. I agree. I think I would change it slightly though. I think the first thing I would do is the financial forecast. Right. I would look at the business plan first.
Yeah.
Why waste money on an attorney if you realize, you know what, these numbers just aren't going to work out? Let's assume best case scenario. Right. Not that you can purchase and then sell the liquor, but that you're buying it on behalf. Always assume you're not going to be able to purchase and sell. That requires a license. But let's assume that you're buying it on behalf. But everything else, like I said, the condiments, the glasses, the being there, the expertise, all that's is made for profit, right? So put together, what I always like to tell my clients is put together a 3-year forecast, right? And a 3-year forecast isn't just how much money I'm going to make, but it's more importantly how much money we're going to spend, right? Materials, people, your labor costs, rent, storage, all those things, right? You got to figure everything out. Now, the one thing you're not going to know is the very, very important thing you said, which is insurance. Now you call the insurance guy. All right, here's what I'm doing. Send him the plan so he understands what you're trying to accomplish. Then he'll get you a quote, or maybe not, right? He's like, there's no insuring this, right? But more than likely they get you a quote. And it might take a while, especially if it's a business that that doesn't have like a lot of companies doing it, because the insurance company might not know how to price it out.
Correct.
And when they don't know how to price it out, what do? They overprice it.
Oh yeah,
of course, right? So then you take that number and you put it into your forecast, and then you see, all right, is this a viable business? What do I have to charge per hour or per day or whatever to make this work? And then you look at it and you say, okay, I got to charge $400 an hour. Well, no one's paying that. Right. Or I got to charge, $90 an hour or $150 an hour. Well, then maybe people are willing to do it. Who knows? Right. All right. So once you have your forecast together and you know what type of insurance you're looking at, then I would go to an attorney. And I would say, okay, here's what we're planning on doing, and let the attorney research for you. And then what you can do, and this actually is a very important thing to get from your attorney, is to get a letter from them, not saying that, yes, you can do this, but that in their opinion, you should be allowed to do this. And here's why that's important, especially if we're talking about liquor laws, because you have the civil side of it, but you also have the criminal side of it, right? The civil side is, look, you messed up. You weren't allowed to do this. The state sued you and you lost. Here's your penalty, right? It's monetary. It might suck, but it's monetary. The other side is the criminal side, where and a criminal requires a criminal intent, meaning that you knew it was wrong, but you did it anyway, right? If you have a letter from an attorney saying that, look, they did research and they believe that you should be allowed to do this, most of the time, if not all the time, that will negate what's called mens rea. That will negate the criminal intent, right? So you weren't intending to do a criminal. You actually sought professional legal help, and you got a letter from an attorney saying that based on their research, you should be able to do this. It doesn't mean, because look, the law's not black and white. It really isn't. When we do research on things, I mean, you know this, right? When we do research on things as attorneys, we might come across something that says, yes, this is okay. We might come across a case where a judge has specifically said that if you do this, this, and this, that's okay. It still doesn't mean that it's legal, because there might be the tiny little nuance in your situation where it's not okay, or your jurisdiction, your township or your county might have a rule that is just a little bit different. So it changes everywhere you go. So there's no way an attorney is going to be able to give you a yes, you can do this with 100% certainty. It's always based on our research and our opinion. But what that will do in most cases is negate the mens rea, the criminal intent. And therefore, if you do get shut down by the state for doing this, it's financial penalties only. Again, that might suck, but you know what? It's a heck of a lot better than going to jail.
Correct.
Right. So that's when I would get the attorney involved and get the letter from the attorney saying, "Look, we reviewed this, and this is what we believe is the situation here."
That's pretty cool.
So that's how I would do that.
I didn't even know that you could do that.
Oh, you can now. A lot of attorneys won't do it though, because if you get shut down, what are you going to do? You're going to sue me. Right? You're going to sue me for malpractice and I probably won't lose that. I'll probably be okay because as long as I did my research properly, but do I want to get involved in a malpractice suit? No. Right? So not all attorneys would do it, but if you find a liquor attorney, they have more expertise in it, and they would, and now it's going to cost you, but they would be more likely to write you that letter.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So yeah, that is how I would recommend people to do that. So
attorney last.
I would say, well, once you know what you're going to be doing, yes, because it's difficult to go to an attorney and say, I want to do a mobile bar setup. Right. Well, give me the details. Well, we haven't thought it through yet. Right? Give me all the details.
Oh, that's when you call your marketing guy.
Your marketing guy.
You waste his time for 2 hours.
Exactly. All right. So now we have a letter from an attorney. We have our insurance in place. We have our financial plan and our financial forecast and everything ready to go. All right. Looks like this thing is going to work.
Yep.
All right. Very next thing is form your LLC or your corporation, whichever it's going to be. Form it. Okay. Before you buy any equipment, form it. And the reason is why?
If you buy it prior, it's technically not the company's assets.
Correct. So if you go,
I got it. I'm learning.
I love it. It's great. If you go out and buy that trailer for $10,000, right? Usually it's titled. Those things are usually titled. Then you have to title it to yourself,
right?
Because it's not owned by a company. Because the company doesn't exist yet.
So you would have to retitle it twice.
You have to retitle it
if you want.
And
it
in states like Pennsylvania, that means that you'll incur the tax twice, right? Yep. And let me be very, very clear about something. In Pennsylvania and a lot of other states too, if you title something to an organization that does not exist, it is a null and void title. So if I were to sell you a house, and you were going to put it in the name of an LLC, but the LLC hasn't been formed yet, that is a null transfer.
So then
it gets voided.
Oh, so then
it sucks, dude.
If the title predates
sucks.
the
yes, and there are people out there who look for those, who look to see, does this company that the company owns the LLC, was it formed after the deed was created?
Right.
And they can actually take possession of that property in certain cases.
Wow.
Yeah, you got to be real careful with that. So it's very similar with cars and stuff. If you form the LLC after the vehicle is titled, you could actually lose the title to that vehicle. Now, it would revert back to the old owner, which may be you, or it may be the other owner. If you had it immediately titled in the name of it. So you got to be real careful with this stuff. So form your LLC right away.
Yep.
After you form the LLC, then you can start buying things. Then you can go to your marketing guy,
signing leases,
and all those things. None of
that should be done until the LLC
exactly. Is ready. Yeah, exactly. What happens with the leases, because there's third parties involved, is if you were to sign a lease in the name of an LLC that does not yet exist, guess who's on the hook?
You are
personally.
Yep.
It is now in your name, since you're the one who signed it knowing that the LLC didn't exist.
So now you're liable.
You're liable for everything. Even if you didn't sign a personal guarantee, it might as well be your name on that document as opposed to the LLC.
Interesting.
So so there's all kinds of nuances with it. So form your LLC first.
Yeah.
Okay. So
then, and then you would do all your contracts and all that stuff to figure out. And that is done in conjunction with the insurance guy, I'm assuming. And now you're ready to call me.
Now you're ready to call Gummi. Say, Gummi, I have this business.
Yes.
How do I get customers?
Right.
And Gummi says,
well, it depends on the business, but
true.
But yeah, so like those are the steps to get you ready to market, so to speak, right? And I can't tell you how many of these calls I get where people call me and say, "Hey, I need help with some marketing." And I'm like, you need help with your business setup, right? Like
Right.
you need to go backwards 2 steps because
Right.
you are in such a hurry that you missed key elements that can come and bite you in the butt later.
Right.
Right. Yeah. And I've had these conversations with another friend of mine where he's like, I can't believe people are running businesses like this. And I'm like, no, but this is what people are being told. Just go start your business, go start doing things. And they don't get any background, right? Because look, let's be realistic. You and I hang around business people all the time.
Yeah, sure.
Right? So a lot of this stuff is completely normal to us, right? Like
it's everyday happenstance. Yeah.
90% of people out there don't even have someone that owns a business around them that they can go ask questions when they're starting their business.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're looking at like videos or influencers or like any of this stuff, and half the stuff they don't even know. Right. And whether it's doable in your state or not. Right. Like if starting a lawn care business in Vermont is drastically different than starting a lawn care business in Arizona.
Sure.
Right? Like the financial projections are completely different. The marketing is different.
There might be regulations too.
They're correct, right? So there are so many things that you have to do in preparation before opening your business. And I have literally been on TikTok lives before where someone was saying, "Oh, just file a DBA and you'll be good."
No.
Right? And I'm like, I'm screaming from the top of my lungs, like, no, but it's just me in the phone, so nobody hears it, right? And then like, I'll join a live and I'll be like, listen, that's not quite how it works.
Yeah.
And then I get arguments like, well, I've been in business for 7 years and that's exactly how I did it. And I'm like, well, then
it's just a matter of time.
Then you're in trouble, right? Like if that's the way you did it and that's what you're telling
Can I address
people?
that? Because that has actually come up a few times in the last few months. People talk about DBAs versus LLCs.
Yep.
Let me just address this to everybody real quick. All right. A DBA, doing business as, that's what DBA stands for, also known as a fictitious name, right? It's just another name by which a company goes. It's just, that's all it is, okay? So let's say, for example, over here we have a sole proprietor. It means a person who has a business by themselves, but it's not registered.
Correct.
Okay?
It's running under their EIN
number.
No,
it's usually running under their social actually, or they might have an EIN set up, but it's still theirs, right? Which means they have no liability protection, meaning that if the company gets sued, their personal assets are at stake.
Yep.
Okay. And then over here we have an LLC, which is a registered entity, which is an independent entity from the owners of the entity, which means that if the entity gets sued and loses, the owner's personal assets are not at risk.
Right.
Okay. So we have these two. If you start a DBA under the sole proprietor, so let's say the company is called XYZ Company, right? And you want to sell t-shirts. Right. Well, XYZ Company doesn't do much good as far as branding goes. We want to sell t-shirts. So you want to call it Gummi's T-shirts. That's the DBA, Gummi's T-shirts. It's still a DBA of the sole proprietorship.
Yes.
Right. It has not given you any liability protection whatsoever.
Nope.
Whereas over here, if you have XYZ Company LLC, again, you want to sell t-shirts. We make a DBA, Gummi's T-shirts. It's just another name for the LLC.
Yep.
So you are still protected.
Can you transfer DBA?
What do you mean?
So let's say I wanted to have a DBA called Gummi Golf Music.
Yeah.
Right? But it's mine.
Personally.
It's personally my name, right? Could I in a year say, hey, I'm going to start an LLC, but I'm going to transfer this DBA name to my legal entity?
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, you can do that. There's a little bit of a process by doing it, but yeah, absolutely. You can take the LLC and move it over. I'm sorry, so take the DBA and move it over.
Okay.
However, what you have to be careful of is if you did some work or sold products under that DBA prior to forming and moving it over to the LLC,
liability,
you're still responsible for whatever happened under your personal tutelage of the DBA, so to speak.
Right.
So a lot of people don't, and I've heard the DBA argument before. It is a terrible argument. Do not do that.
I know.
The DBA does you absolutely no good when, as far as protecting your company.
Correct.
And another thing with that is if you have an LLC that sells t-shirts, these are all LLCs here, an LLC that sells t-shirts, right?
Yep.
And now you want to get into, I don't know,
sneakers.
Sneakers. Love it. Great. Sneakers. Okay. Some people will say, we'll just create an LLC. So Gummi's t-shirts, Gummi sneakers, right? The problem with that is if something goes wrong with the sneaker line, everything from the t-shirt line is accessible as well. So what you really want to do is start a new LLC, Gummi's sneakers. Because now if something happens here, it won't affect anything over here.
Got it.
And vice versa.
So what do they mean with, so let's say I have Gummi t-shirts, Gummi sneakers, Gummi sunglasses.
Yep.
Could I have a holding?
You should, yes.
Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah, answer your question. Sorry, I'm jumping the gun. I'm excited.
So should I have a holdings company that technically then owns those three entities? Will that keep them all isolated, or can they go after the holding company then?
So, okay. So each, I need props.
Yeah,
but I don't
you
have
need props.
I need a board. I need a board to draw on. I kind of have one there, but that's all right. Oh, you know what? Here.
Okay.
Do this.
You're taking background props? Oh, okay. There we go.
I have paper here.
Okay.
So it's like this, right? So let's say we have, I'm doing this upside down, so I apologize. All right. So we have 3 LLCs, right?
Gummi sneakers, Gummi's t-shirts, and Gummi's...
Yeah, we got sneakers, t-shirts, and what?
Sunglasses.
Sunglasses. Okay, I'll just put SU for sun.
Okay.
Wait, U upside down is not as easy as it looks. All right. So we have these 3 here. All right.
Okay.
And they're owned by Gummi.
Yes.
Okay, individually. If something happens here, it doesn't affect you. It doesn't affect either one of these.
Correct.
Okay. Something happens here, same thing, same thing. The one thing where it can be an issue is if something happens with you get into a car accident, you kill somebody, your insurance doesn't cover it. They can then go after your assets, which could include all 3 of these.
Correct.
Right. So one of the things we recommend is setting up a C corp up here. I'm hoping I'm drawing this right.
That's
C corp,
it's a C,
also known as a holdings company.
Yep.
And the holdings company owns these things here. Now, what happens with the C corp is the C corp is not. You own the stock to the C corp.
Correct.
Right. You don't own. And then the C corp owns the LLCs. Technically, somebody could get to your stock if you got into an accident and your insurance didn't cover it, whatever. But this is a much safer way of protecting those LLC assets is to have a holdings company up there. And again, it's just another level of protection for you. This company likely doesn't do anything other than hold these assets.
Right.
So there's really no reason to sue this company.
Correct.
Because it doesn't do anything. Right. So that's kind of where the holdings company comes into play.
Got it.
So, okay, now that everyone's bored, because we've been talking legal stuff for a while.
Well, but this is
it's important.
It's important
for
stuff.
people to know these things.
It's primarily important to me is because I want to unalive this whole. Just set up a DBA.
Yeah,
it is absolutely not a thing.
It's incorrect. It's just outright incorrect. I'm sorry.
So if anybody ever hears anybody say, just set up a DBA.
Bring it. Argue with me. Put it in the comments. Call. I'll give you my phone number. Call us. Explain to me how a DBA is protecting your business. Right. And I will tell you why you're wrong in even a minute or less.
My other favorite is, well, if you register a DBA, it's like a trademark.
No, it's not.
I know.
It's not. Who says that?
People say this online. I know people are wrong. But once again, it comes down to the fact that there's a small percentage of the population that is actually familiar with business from multiple venues, right? So from the legal side, from the marketing side, from the financial side. And someone may have been in business. I'll give you a perfect example.
All right.
There's a guy not too far from here. They didn't know what their EIN number was, only to find out that it had been operating under the dad's social for 30 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So they finally figured out what their EIN number was. And then they found out that the workers' comp policy was under the dad, but payroll was under EIN.
Oh boy.
So they go, oh, we got to transfer the workers' comp policy.
Yeah.
Well, so instead of calling someone and transferring it, they just let the old policy lapse.
Oh.
Well, there was a few day gap between the old policy lapsing.
Someone got hurt.
Someone cut off their hand.
Oh, dear Lord.
On a table saw.
Oh.
And the workers' comp policy, the old one, had lapsed by a few days. And the new one hadn't kicked in because they weren't sure who was setting it up and who was paying for it. And so there was a few day gap where that happened. And guess what? That's when it went wrong.
Do you know that in Pennsylvania and many other states too, if you don't have an active workers' comp policy, it's a criminal action?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You can go to jail for that.
Yes, I know.
Oh, God. Okay. DBAs and trademarks very quickly. I have to address this.
No, we're done with DBA.
No. Technically, once your product is in the market under a name, you have a common law trademark.
Correct.
But you do not have a federal trademark. But just registering the DBA does not put your product or service into the market.
So,
it has to be advertised.
So for example, if I would set up, I would create a product called Arnold Palmer spread, and it's iced tea and lemonade jelly.
Okay.
I can't do that because this is a registered trademark that is all around the US, right?
Yes.
Just like this umbrella is a registered trademark because it's Arnold Palmer's logo.
Yes.
Right. But if I wanted to set up Gummi's honey,
yes,
I could slap that on a jar tomorrow
as long as somebody else doesn't have that trademark.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So
delicious Arnold Palmer, available in light and diet.
For those of you who don't get the joke, each week when we do this, Gummi is trying to reach out to the good folks at Arizona Tea because he is a huge fan of the Arnold Palmer drinks and would love to have them sponsor this show. Let's be clear, they do not sponsor this show, but Gummi gives them all the free advertising in the world anyway because he loves it that much.
Remember that if you have questions or comments, please drop them below and we will prioritize actually answering the questions on these videos.